Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 1275 of the Juicebox Podcast. Kelsey is a former health coach who has type 1 diabetes and Hashimoto's. Today, we're going to talk about things related to that. I never know what to say here. Just listen. It's going to be great. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. If you or a loved one was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're looking for some fresh perspective, the Bold Beginnings series from the Juicebox Podcast is a terrific place to start. That series is with myself and Jenny Smith. Jenny is a CDCES, a registered dietitian, and a type 1 for over 35 years. And in the Bold Beginnings series, Jenny and I are going to answer the questions that most people have after a type 1 diabetes diagnosis. The series begins at episode 698 in your podcast player, or you can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on Bold Beginnings in the menu. Are you a U.S. resident who has type 1 or is the caregiver of someone with type 1? Are you tired of hearing me say that you should go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and fill out the survey? Well, if you are, go fill out the survey and I'll stop saying it. Really is that simple. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. This show is sponsored today by the glucagon that my daughter carries, Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. US Med is sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast, and we've been getting our diabetes supplies from US Med for years. You can as well. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Use the link or the number, get your free benefits check, and get started today with US Med. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Eversense CGM. And sure, all CGM systems use transcutaneous sensors that are inserted into the skin and last 7 to 14 days. But the Eversense sensor is inserted completely under the skin, lasting 6 months. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in October of 2022. That math is pretty easy for you, Scott, I think.
You think?
It was about 3 months after I had my son, my first kid. So kind of became a mom and a diabetic at the same time, which has been wild, to say the least.
You got a type 1 diagnosis in October, which is just a year and a few months ago.
Yep.
Okay. Were you gestational during the pregnancy?
I was, yeah. That's kind of how it started in a way. Before I got pregnant, I had some blood work done. I have worked with a functional medicine doctor for years. And so I do regular blood work, and I had a pre-diabetic A1C. I think it was 6. He was like, "That's weird. You eat pretty well and like you exercise." And I just keep an eye on that. And so I was like, okay, odd. And I've been in health and fitness for a while now, over 10 years. So I knew about blood sugar, and I actually already had a little glucometer. So I started testing my blood sugar, and it didn't look too bad. Like I think my fasting numbers were sort of high. They were a little over 100. Mm-hmm. But there were a few times where I ate like white rice or something, and I was like, oh, dang, that is not normal.
Oh, okay. Give me a second here. How old are you?
I am 33.
When did you start checking your blood sugar?
I did since I've been in health and fitness for so long, I had done this like carb challenge probably when I was in my mid-20s.
Okay.
And so I had a glucometer then, and I didn't notice, I don't remember noticing anything super crazy. Like if I went off the rails with some carbs, it got, I think in like the 130s or something.
Right.
So I had a glucometer already, and I had actually worn a CGM before too. So I was pretty familiar with like blood sugar and the technology already. Right.
And that rice spike you talked about, that's in the 130s, back when you were tracking before you had diabetes.
I don't know why I remember it, but it was like plantains. Like I ate plantains or something, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat these. It was, it was something like that.
I say, all right, I have the whole thing. You keep saying you're in health and fitness. It makes me laugh because my podcast is in the health and fitness category. And if I saw myself If I looked at myself in the mirror right now, I'd be like, we should all get the top 20 podcasts in health and fitness medicine, which is my subcategory, and take a photo together. And people would be like, how did that guy get in there?
Right.
The rest of them look like they're on testosterone.
I actually used to work for a few people probably in that category.
No kidding.
You're totally right. You're totally right.
I love it when there's some of these podcasts I enjoy, right? But I see this one guy, I don't want to say his name, but I see him on Instagram and he's like my age and he looks like he could lift up a truck. And I'm like, all right. Just the cold plunge is all I have to do.
You have to do the sauna and then the cold plunge, and then you'll
sauna, cold, maybe some red light therapy at some point.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
On your balls.
Put them right on my balls. I take that red light, I jam it right up my ass, and then I look like a Hercules apparently. And I'm like, all that podcast does is make me think, should I ask my endocrinologist about testosterone?
Yeah, right.
Literally all it makes me think.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Can we go back for a second? So this is a professional thing for you. What were you doing?
Yeah. So I actually have a health coach certification. So I was working one-on-one with clients a while ago. And then I started working for a supplement company it was a startup, and they were owned by one of those influencers, like one of those podcast influencers. I won't throw any names out.
But later you'll tell me, right? When we're done recording?
Maybe.
Okay,
yeah, maybe.
Right.
I worked with them for a while as their marketing manager and kind of developed some courses for them. So I've been in the space for a while, and I just have a personal interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have been on literally every diet that you can imagine. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride into type 1 from there.
Have you found a style of eating that fits your body best?
I would have said yes, before I had the type 1 diagnosis. And now I think I'm looking at it from a different perspective, if that makes sense. So I would say paleo for sure. Just kind of going moderate, low carb, kind of avoiding grains. And I've been gluten-free for over 10 years. It was after college, I went gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would say mostly paleo, pretty low to moderate carb. That's kind of how I feel the best. I've done we might get into it, but I was basically keto while I was pregnant, strict keto,
right?
Because obviously I was diabetic and didn't have insulin, and I just couldn't handle any carbs.
Yeah.
And I actually felt pretty good, but I wouldn't advocate for that long-term for myself or probably any woman my age. It's just, I think it's kind of stressful on your thyroid.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say I always kind of come back to paleo, meat, veggies, a little bit of fruit. That's kind of the staple for sure.
I got to be honest. I think that's how I eat on the day, most of the time. Do you know what I mean?
Good.
Don't you think that's how everyone, I like that we call it paleo.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just whole, well, I don't know. It's not even whole foods, right? Because you could argue that grains are whole foods. So some people call it ancestral eating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they call it a lot of different things when they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah.
Can you do this with me for a second before we go back to your pregnancy? If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready with Gvoke HypoPen. My daughter carries Gvoke HypoPen everywhere she goes because it's a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above that I trust. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. Luckily, Gvoke HypoPen can be administered in 2 simple steps, even by yourself in certain situations. Show those around you where you store Gvoke HypoPen and how to use it. They need to know how to use Gvoke HypoPen before an emergency situation happens. Learn more about why Gvoke HypoPen is in Arden's Diabetes Toolkit at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. Gvoke shouldn't be used if you have a tumor in the gland on the top of your kidneys called a pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called an insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information. I don't know how you guys order your diabetes supplies like CGMs, pumps, and testing equipment, but at our house, we use US Med. And I'm going to walk you through the entire process right now. I'm looking at the email from US Med. It says, "It's time to refill your prescription. Dear Arden, please click the button below to place your next order." Then you click the button. That was it. 2 days later, I got this email. Thank you for your order from US Med. We wanted to let you know that your order, and it gives you an order number, was shipped via UPS ground. You can track your package at any time using the link below. And then there was a link, and then it showed up at our house. Now I'm going to walk you through the entire chain of events. On the 29th, which was a Saturday, I clicked on the email. On that Monday, the 1st, I got an email that said the order had been sent. 4 days later, on the 5th, the package arrived. If you can do it easier than that, you go get it. But if you can't, usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Get started today with US Med. Get your diabetes supplies the same way we do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you are in a unique situation here to answer some questions for me.
Okay.
There are things I say on the podcast sometimes that I think people might be like, oh, he's just ranting and raving. But I know about having to serve content to people and having to grow. And the fact that if it stops, especially with a social media driven society, right? Like I'm not a big company. I can't buy an ad during the Super Bowl. This is my way to reach people.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. So you were in marketing, right? So
yes,
I know what I have to do. Like I have a simple marketing plan. I make content that helps people. I put them first, and then I sell ads.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it for me. I thought about it long and hard. And after the podcast got very popular, the companies came to me about monetizing the podcast. And like, they were like, you know what? Like not advertisers, like companies were like, you could sell your downloads or put it behind a paywall or do all these other things. And how many listeners do you have? Imagine how much money that would be. And I was like, but then people won't find it.
Right.
I want it to be free to the people listening to it.
Yeah.
That's my marketing plan. Make good content that's entertaining and valuable that people will share, that will help them. And then let whatever happens happen. And that's going well. But that's not really most people's marketing plan, right? Most people's marketing plan is pick a side, argue, fight, brand, use words that make some people mad and some people happy. And then we'll just take the money from the people who agree with us. That's the marketing plan, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Especially like for a lot of supplement companies in the space, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
So when someone's out there arguing, like, what's one of the arguments? Like, you got to eat calf livers every day, and you see somebody literally with a calf liver in their hand taking a bite out of it, and you're like, oh, he really wants to sell those vitamins. So that's what I mean. That's what I think when I see it happen.
Yeah.
I think what he wants to happen, or she, sorry, is for the people who agree with them to go, yeah, look how into it is. I want to be that into it. And then get into a fight with the people that disagree with them, because the fight keeps the people that are into it into the social media that you need to keep people in touch so that they'll buy more stuff. I have all that
Sure.
right?
Yeah. For a majority of people, I would say that's kind of what marketing is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think people know they're being manipulated?
Sometimes, yeah. But nobody likes to be manipulated. So I think if you know you're being manipulated, you'll usually kind of turn it off. But I don't know. I think people like to buy stuff too. You know what I mean? Like people like to try things, and they want to think that something's going to help them, or they're going to look a certain way or feel a certain way. So
it's a way to feel like you're doing something without doing something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I could go for a walk and maybe stop in the middle and do a sit-up, or I could try this vitamin, which I'm pretty sure is going to fix everything. Like I'm pretty sure, Kelsey, that it's a great secret that's kept, and only these few people who follow this person on Instagram know about it. I'm going to get in on the ground floor. I'll be super skinny and very toned by the time everybody else figures it out.
Right.
By the way, I take vitamins. I'm not saying. By the way, hold on a second. This is my multivitamin, right? It's right here.
Oh, hey, here. Yeah. Hear that one? Yeah, I'm right with you.
You know, I dose myself a little heavy with vitamin D. I take a multivitamin. I do zinc. I drink athletic greens, you know, like that kind of stuff. But I don't think I'm going to get taller or, you know, suddenly look jacked over it. I'm not exhausted at the end of the day.
Totally. Yeah. You probably don't have, I mean, it's just sometimes people are just in a vulnerable space where their psychology can be manipulated a little bit more. Like I've been there, you know, when I was if I'm super sick and I'm just like, I can't figure it out, you buy a bunch of things and try it. So I don't fault people for quote unquote falling for marketing like that.
I don't either.
Yeah, it is interesting. And if I'm being honest with you, I think the way that you're doing it, I was a content manager. So like organic marketing, not necessarily like the paid manipulative stuff is what I love. And what you're doing is organic marketing, right? Like you're putting out valuable content that people will share, they'll tell their friends about, and you're kind of putting all your eggs in that basket. And it sounds like it's working because that's literally how I heard about your podcast.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. The people who listen and succeed and are kind enough to tell somebody else, they're my marketing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And
yep. Word of mouth.
You know why? So I want everybody we're going to move on in a second, Kelsey, but I want everybody to extrapolate a little farther now that we've explained all this. Why don't other people do that?
They don't have good content to put out.
That helps
Or they
people.
don't.
Yeah. Right.
That helps people. Yeah. They don't know that they need to put time and energy into that. I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm watching people online call themselves diabetes coaches, and they get a hold of you and they take a fee, a weekly, a monthly, a yearly fee from you. And basically they look at your basal for you and then they tell you how to pre-bolus. Your A1C drops a point. You think they're the second coming of Christ and you feel like you got your money's worth. Meanwhile, you could just listen to any number of episodes of this podcast and do that on your own. So
I have two thoughts about that.
Go ahead.
One is, there's like way more diabetes coaches out there than I'm like, I thought type 1 is rare, right? But there's like a lot of type 1 coaches out there. I was very surprised.
You know what did that?
And B, what did that?
COVID.
This podcast?
COVID.
Oh. COVID, yeah.
COVID did that. People lost their jobs and they're like, I have abs, I have diabetes. My A1C's in the sixes. I know what to do.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
and also having been a health coach before, there are also just certain types of people that really like they could go learn on their own the same information, but they really want support.
I do believe that. Yeah.
Yes. And they do find that valuable. And it's like, you could go read this book, or I would rather just pay you because like I'd rather spend money than time and you just tell me what to do.
I also have no trouble with that.
Yeah.
I really don't. I understand that some people, that's their desired learning pattern and it works well for them. So I'm not saying everybody should just listen to the podcast and everybody else should go to hell. I'm saying that there are a lot of diabetes coaches.
Yes, there are.
And sometimes in their social media, I see a lot of words strung together that sound like they were pulled right out of the transcripts of my podcast. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't, what am I going to do? It's fine. You know, it's also, I don't know. I feel bad. At my core, you shouldn't have to pay money to like be healthy. It just doesn't seem like it's only information. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not having to mine it out of the ground and give it to you. So,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, you make a good point on both sides. So, I mean, if you need a health coach, that's great. I mean, there's a strong, argument to be made that that's what Jenny does.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I have no trouble with that at all. It's fine with me. It's something to do with, I don't know. It's it might be just me. It's something, it tastes wrong to me when it's on social media.
Yeah, there can be a weird way to do it for sure. Yeah. And I mean, if you're seeing like your same content being put out, that happens a lot in like every space. But impersonation is the best form of flattery, right? Like they're obviously finding your content valuable enough to use it themselves. So
yeah, I would tell you, and I will leave all the names out of it, that there is a person online right now selling themselves as a diabetes coach who how do I say this? They got their information from someone else because they didn't know what they were doing. Then they wrote it all down. And what they're very good at is repeating it back to other people.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just insane. I don't know. The whole thing makes me feel icky. Anyway, not to say there's anything wrong with helping people or taking money to help people. I actually don't have any trouble with that. It doesn't sit well with me. So I'm sorry. You're in the hospital. Sorry. You make a baby. The baby comes out, and 16 minutes later, Kelsey, 16
okay.
The baby comes like flying out, or maybe it didn't. Maybe it hung onto your, I don't know what they hang on to when they're coming out, and you're a new mom and super excited. And then what happens?
Yeah, he hung on for quite a while. I'll just say that.
Yeah, his
not
hands
come
like around
flying
your
out.
liver or something like that.
Oh God, he did not want to come out. But no, yeah, he was born. So I guess going back, like, gestational diabetes. I failed the glucose test miserably.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was in the 300s, and the nurses kind of kept coming back to be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel fine." And they later told me that they were testing their glucometer on themselves to make sure it wasn't broken.
Oh,
that's
perfect.
That's how badly I failed it. And so they basically like tried to do it without insulin for a while. I worked with the diabetes educator that was telling me all this generic shit that didn't work. And I'm like, look, I'm not eating carbs. Like, I'm already like, something's going on here.
Yeah.
And they kind of just kept telling me it was gestational and it'd probably go away. No one mentioned type 1 to me at all. And so I had him. It was just like a stressful pregnancy. I was like walking after every meal to try to get my sugars down, paying out of pocket for a CGM. Yeah. But I was eating super healthy. So
yeah,
he came out perfectly healthy. No blood sugar issues, no issues breastfeeding. Like, he was great, other than just being a wild child.
So you think you have a slow onset? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's smart of me to put a lozenge in my mouth while I'm making a podcast. Rob, you can leave that part
Better
in.
than gum, I guess.
I got like a little dry and I was like, she's telling a good story. I'll moisten up. And then I wanted to talk and it was still in my mouth. Sorry. So you probably were experiencing a slow onset of type 1 diabetes, not gestational.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That would be my guess, just considering that I had a high A1C before I got pregnant.
Yes.
So my guess would be I was sort of in a slow burn. I was probably managing it just by being very healthy and like eating well for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think either my pregnancy kind of just, my pancreas just gave up, or I'm guessing it was the pregnancy. And then I had a pretty tough labor too. So I'm sure that sort of played into it as well.
Do you have a thyroid issue?
I do. Yeah. So I have Hashimoto's as well.
Yeah, that's not in your notes, but I've started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get that before or after the baby?
Yeah, before. So I've had that. That's kind of what kicked me off into health and wellness. I was diagnosed with that. It was probably like in my late teens, but I didn't figure out what it was until like my early mid 20s.
Were you very thin during that time?
Yeah. So I lost a lot of weight. My biggest symptom is like my hair falls out in chunks.
Oh,
so yeah, it's awful. So anytime my thyroid's off, that's kind of like my sign of like, okay, we need to go get our labs checked. All the things like really cold, really thin. Yeah, that sort of thing. And that kind of runs in my family too. Like my mom has Hashimoto's and my grandma does as well.
Okay. With the women in your family or both male, female? This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the only CGM you can take off to get into the shower, the Eversense CGM. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. Well, I mean, sure, you could take the other ones off, but then you'd waste a sensor and have to start over again. But not with Eversense. Eversense is a 6-month wear implantable CGM. So if you want to take a shower without anything hanging on you, pop off the transmitter, jump in the shower. When you get back out, put it back on, and you're right back to where you started. Come to think of it, you could do that whenever you wanted to. Maybe it was your prom night or your wedding day. Maybe you just don't want the thing on for a little while, but you don't want to go all through the hassle of taking it off and having to restart it and, starting back over with like wonky numbers and having to, all that goes with it when you take off a CGM and put it back on. Oh, but you don't have to do that with the Eversense CGM. Because Eversense is the only long-term CGM with 6 months of real-time glucose readings. This gives you more confidence, more convenience, and flexibility. The Eversense CGM is there for you when you want discretion, a break, or maybe just a little adult time. EversenseCGM.com/juicebox. Pop that transmitter off, pop it back on, you're right back where you started without any wasted devices or time.
Yeah, just the women, as far as I know. Yeah.
So you have, and it's diagnosed Hashimoto's. They were tested for antibodies?
Yes. Yep.
You take just T3 or do you take T3 and T4?
Oh man, I've taken it all, Scott. I've taken just the generic like levothyroxine. I've taken combo with T3. I've taken the desiccated thyroid armor. And I am actually now just on T4. I have started working with a guy that's like, he's kind of like an expert in thyroid in the field. And the T3 was actually making me worse taking it long term. So we're kind of titrating it back and trying to figure it out from there. But it does make you feel better for a little while. And then I sort of just like plateaued and got worse.
What were you trying to adjust? So for people who don't know, sometimes people take T4, which, could be tyrosine, Synthroid, that kind of drug.
Yeah.
But still have symptoms. And like Arden's one of them. If you give Arden just tyrosine, she's exhausted. And like a different kind of exhausted, like poured in a puddle exhausted. But if she
I've been there.
yeah. But if she just takes like 0.25 micrograms, like the tiniest, is it micrograms?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the tiniest little bit of T3, she's fine.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And how do you get her lab work done pretty regularly?
Her TSH stays under 2.
Okay.
That's what we're shooting for. And again, much like you, Arden's seeing an integrative endocrinologist who's managing her thyroid and actually manages her diabetes now that she's an adult too, but manages diabetes is that's a funny word to say. Cause I think if you had that endocrinologist right here and I asked her, what do you do for Arden's diabetes? She'd say, I write prescriptions and listen to what you tell me. So
you guys have it probably more managed than anyone else. Yeah.
But on the thyroid side, she's fantastic. My son, my daughter, and my wife all need thyroid medication. Oh,
your son too. Wow.
Yeah. It hit him in his sophomore year, actually during COVID. Sophomore year of college.
Interesting.
He had the weirdest onset. It was crazy. He got a itching rash from his waist to his neck.
Oh.
If his body heated up or if he got excited or scared.
That's thyroid related? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, guess what? We didn't either. So the first thing we did was took him to what would you do? What would you call that person who helps you with allergies? An allergist. Sorry, Kelsey.
That was a big stretch.
Look at my leap there. And they tried to handle it that way. All kinds of stuff. He's taken all kinds of drugs trying to suppress and nothing mattered. He had to stop working out. He got to the point where it was November, if I remember, and he had to sit in his bedroom with his windows open to keep his body temperature like under 60. Like the temperature in the room had to be like under 65 or he risked breaking out if he moved quickly. It was insane.
Whoa.
It felt like it was killing him. And we were starting to look into like injectables to like immune suppressing because we didn't know what was going on. And I was just up late one night, just combing through NIH articles. And a very uncommon sign of a thyroid problem can be a rash. What do you call it when you break out like not welts? Why is it simple words?
Hives?
Hives. Thank you. What the Kelsey? You already cursed, so I can curse too now because now Rob's listening for curses while he's editing. So
I haven't said any. It's all you.
You said shit.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Do you write it down when someone says something?
A nice man that I pay money to takes it out later.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And so he's probably like, yeah, why don't you write it down? That would make it easier because I'll skip one. And then, anyway, and it'll all be a mess. So my son's in dire trouble. We figure this out. I go right to Arden's endo and I tell her what's going on. And she's open-minded. She's like, wow, that would be very rare. But yeah, let's give it to him and see what happens. Where most doctors would be like, that's not what that is. Then let him struggle for the rest of his life. She threw some tyrosine at him. And like a week later, it was gone.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And he's fine now?
He is. He takes tyrosine and a tiny bit of armor for T3.
Did you ever get his numbers tested to see like where his TSH was at or anything?
Oh my God. At one point, after we focused on thyroid, his TSH had, I think it was a 7 at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Like it leapt way up. And so he was in a bit of a thing. It leapt up, it went back. And then, of course, so the regular doctor, because I had sniffed out in July previous to this happening to him. I hope he never hears this, or if he hears it, whatever. He was acting like a douchebag. Like, I don't know another way to put it. And it was very uncharacteristic for him. And I said to him, you're going to the doctor and getting a blood test. I want to look at your thyroid levels. And it came back at like 2.5 or something like that. And I only took him to his general practitioner. So his doctor was like, that's not a problem. I'm pointing at him. I'm like, you sure? I said, because this seems like this to me. And he goes, why do you think that? I said, because my wife had undiagnosed thyroid when I was younger. And I had already dug a hole to push her in because I thought I was going to have to kill her because she was such an asshole while this was happening to her. Yeah, right. Yeah, while this was happening to her. And I'm like, it just seems very similar. And the guy put me off and I let him put me off. And then the next time it happened, I was like, screw this. I'm going to the doctor. I know will listen to me. So anyway, he's good now.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's a wild one.
It is insane. Although, so you say the T3 is too much for you. You get heart palpitations, or what happens to you with it?
Yeah, I started getting heart palpitations. I was just feeling like mixed hyper and hypo symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a whole different like theory on thyroid health that I'm learning out there that this doctor that I'm working with has about like if you do have an immune driven thyroid condition, the T3 can actually make it a little bit worse over time. So we're just trying some stuff. It's kind of one of those things where it's like I know a ton about thyroid health and I still know nothing.
How bro sciencey are you going to get with your thyroid journey? Will you try methylated vitamins or stuff like that? Or what? How far are you going to go?
Yes. I've tried methylated vitamins. I've done red light therapy on my thyroid. I would say I haven't done peptides. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh,
I've probably done everything else.
Wait, the injectable one?
Yeah. Well, there's like oral peptides too, but yeah, they're mostly injectable. Yeah. I have not done that yet.
Okay. You think you're going to?
Maybe someday. I don't know.
Can I be honest with you, Kelsey? I'm definitely going to ask for testosterone.
You should. It'll probably help.
Oh, yeah. What do I got to lose? You know what I mean? Yeah, listen, every famous person looks amazing. And I'm walking around here talking about, I don't have muscle tone in my arm. Like, what the hell? Like, why am I doing this?
Oh, yeah. They're on some stuff that costs money.
Yeah. Well, I don't have the money. I think that's going to be the problem.
You could get them to sponsor your podcast. There you go.
Seriously? If you can set that up, I'll absolutely do that.
I'm totally joking, but I'm sure someone would.
That's hilarious. Just injecting whatever. Like, oh, it is fine. I'm like, what is that accent? Did any of those things help your thyroid? Your red light or your whatever else you tried?
Honestly, yeah. Like I was really managing it very well. I think pregnancy has thrown some stuff off, which is normal. I'll probably get back to feeling better once I get it figured out. But I felt great. My levels were stable. I was on like a very stable dose of medication. It would kind of go off the rails if like a lot of stress came up or if I, ate a ton of gluten or something like that. But I was doing really well.
What were you using to supplement the T4?
Cytomel, I think is what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was your T3, the Cytomel. You stopped using that though. So like, are you using anything over the counter right now?
I'm just taking 88 micrograms of levothyroxine.
Oh, nothing extra. Okay.
Nothing extra. Gotcha. Yeah. But my levels they're pretty low and I'm trying to get those up. I think my just conversion from T4 to T3 might be a little messed up right now. You've had kids, like your sleep is just jacked for a while. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
You have symptoms like your hair and stuff like that?
I did. And now I'm leveling out again.
Okay.
So I feel pretty good now. So TBD if this will help me.
I hope your doctor is like really as good as you hope, because like I know if that happened and we talked to our doctor, she'd like mumble some math on the phone and she'd be like, take an extra pill on the first day. And I'm not saying anything. That's something like she, you know what I mean? She'd be like, we want to get a little extra in there. And I'm like, okay, do you miss the pills ever? Or are you very fastidious about taking it?
Oh, no. Yeah. I take them every day.
Okay.
I did do an experiment where I just felt like everything was off. I needed to reset and I didn't take any thyroid medication for a month because it had been so long since I hadn't taken any. I was like, I wonder if my thyroid even works. Like maybe it's fine. And it doesn't. So I do need to take medication.
By the way, you need me as your father. I had to talk my son down off that ladder one day too. He's like, I'm just going to stop taking it. I'm like, yo, man, listen.
It honestly, I'm glad I did it, as weird as that sounds. I didn't feel as bad as I thought. And I feel like I just reached I was able to like start over with my medication and be like, this is what I felt like without any. This is what I feel like with some. Is this a good dose? So I actually felt okay, surprisingly. But my numbers my TSH went up and all that.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been long before something would have got sideways on you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I'm pretty in tune with my body. Like I can tell really quickly if I need to do something to adjust.
I just want to say I'm not a doctor, but please everybody stay on your thyroid medication.
Yeah, don't listen. I'm kind of like, I go rogue on some health stuff sometimes.
You heard Kelsey talk earlier. She's half out of her mind. It's fine. It's so
She was a health coach.
Have you tried journaling? I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you.
Oh, you can laugh at me. I laugh at me too.
That's okay. So baby's out. We have type 1 now. What got you to a doctor, I guess?
I had him. They kind of scared me. I was going to have a big baby and everything. He was 8 pounds, 8 ounces, perfectly healthy. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's one thing like I want to get across to people is like, I was diabetic and didn't have insulin and I didn't have perfect blood sugar, but my kid he was healthy. I was definitely really stressed about that when I was pregnant. And I know it's very stressful. So yeah, he came out. I did not test my blood sugar for 3 months. I was kind of scared. I didn't want to know what it was. I was trying to figure out being a mom, not sleeping, like just, it was a lot. And I think it was the morning after my husband and I went out for his birthday the night before. And just like, mind you, I had been so strict with my diet for 9 months, like basically didn't eat a carb that I was like, I'm eating cake, like screw this. So we went to dinner, we had cake, we had wine, we had whatever. And I woke up the next day and I felt pretty weird. And I had been having blurry vision for a couple of weeks before that. Mm-hmm. I was like, is this a postpartum thing? Like, this is a weird symptom. Yeah. And I tested my blood sugar in the morning, fasted, and I was like 398. And that was the highest I had ever seen it. I just walked out to my husband and I was like, I'm pretty sure I am diabetic now.
You didn't curse? You just said it like that nicely? You didn't go, Bill, you can listen to this.
I mean, I was probably crying. I think I was probably crying.
Yeah.
Because I was just so scared of that. And I had put it off for a couple of months and I was finally like, I just need to look at this. And yeah, it was like my worst nightmare for sure. I asked him to take off work and I basically just like started looking up endocrinologists, functional medicine doctors, like anyone that could see me and test me for antibodies. And I found one. She tested me. She thought I had celiac disease. She's like, you're celiac. I don't think you're type 1. I was like, hey, listen, I don't think gluten
makes your blood sugar go up.
I don't think gluten's making my blood sugar 398. Can you please test my antibodies? And so she did. I think there's like 5 antibodies they test you for, and all of them were super high.
Kelsey's like, I don't have time for you goddamn hippies right now. Just test me.
I am one of you. Listen to me.
I got diabetes. Like, let's get to it.
She wanted to put me on like zinc and what else? High dose curcumin and NAC. And I was like, I already take all of those.
She didn't light any sage on fire and rub it around your head, did she?
No, we almost got there though. Yeah, no,
hold on a second.
God bless her though. God bless her.
Big moment for everybody. Arden's calling.
Oh.
Ards, I'm making a podcast. Can you say anything that other people can hear?
No, I was literally just going to complain about this state.
You were just going to... I'm sorry, you're on microphone. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I don't care. I literally, like, how is it possible I can't find a light blue mechanical pencil?
You think that's George's? By the way, I'm talking to... go ahead. I'm talking to Kelsey. She's laughing. Go ahead.
I literally have been to 4 stores. I've been on the phone with people. No one. And then I call Michael's, and I'm like... Hey, do you have like a blue mechanical pencil where like the lead is blue? And he's like, yeah, let me check for you. And he checks and he's like, yeah, like we have mechanical pencils. And he's like, all right, have a good day. I didn't even answer yet. And I'm like, excuse me. Like he didn't say it like blue. Like that's why I'm calling, right? Like I'm sure they have mechanical pencils. So then I'm like, no, like do you like blue ones? And he doesn't answer for, I'm not even kidding, 20 seconds. And then he goes, oh yeah, blue. And I'm like, okay, thanks so much. And now I have to drive like in 2 miles, which is 20 minutes to just get a mechanical pencil.
Tell people why it takes 20 minutes to drive 2 miles.
Because I can't. No.
You don't want to say?
No, I'm so mad. I'm so mad, and my cramps are so bad that I just can't take it.
Anyway, Arden's got her period right now, and she doesn't love Georgia.
So mad.
Oh, just real quick, 10 thoughtful words about how the people in Georgia drive.
No.
Okay. You think you'll get yourself in trouble?
No, I can't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry you're having a tough time.
I hate this place.
Okay, you're okay. It's everything's gonna be fine. How about I finish? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna finish making the podcast and I'll give you a call in a little bit.
Okay, great.
When's your next class?
5 o'clock. I just had a class at 8 a.m. till like 11, and now I have a class at 5.
It's bad timing. That's not good spacing, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, give me a text if you get your pencil, and then I'll know you've handled that, and I'll give you a call when I'm done talking to Kelsey, who, by the way, is very cool. You would like her.
Hey, Arden.
Okay. All right. I'll see you in a bit, okay?
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, my gosh.
There's people who say Arden's not on the podcast enough.
There you go. You only have to bleep out 5 of those words.
Well, people who've listened to her on the podcast are not surprised by that, I don't imagine. But
Yeah. I think I had listened to one episode, so yeah, I knew.
She's not wrong, by the way. To drive 2 miles takes forever where she is.
She's going to school there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
small
insane.
town?
I think people know by now. She's in Savannah.
Okay. I've never been to Georgia. Well, slower pace of life, I'm guessing.
I think so. I don't know what it is. There's not that many cars, but yet they don't move very quickly. I don't understand. Everyone needs to come here and drive for 4 days, and then you can go back to wherever you live, and you'll be much better at it.
Need a lesson.
Yeah. You just need the fear of God up your ass the entire time you're driving. Like the idea that someone's going to run headlong into you if you're not careful and moving constantly. Like, you know how a shark never stops moving? That's how you got to drive in the Northeast.
That sounds terrifying.
Kelsey, I'm so sorry. Where were we before Arden called and started cursing into my microphone?
I have no idea.
Okay.
The crunchy doctor.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you're there with the high blood sugar, and she's like, have you tried berberine?
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, I have. So anyways, that was the last time I saw her. I just got a referral to an endocrinologist after that. Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah.
I got on shots first, and I got my CGM. And my endocrinologist is actually amazing. She loops. So she's kind of been working with me I got on a pump shortly after that. I was first on the Tandem, and my kid was just messing with the wires all the time. I pulled it out like so many times. So I switched to the Omnipod a couple months ago, and now I actually just started looping like 3 days ago.
Nice.
So,
oh, really? That recently?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I'm trying that out. But yeah, that's kind of the story.
Well, how did you find me? Like, why did you find? Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It looks like you're into this stuff. But like, how did you think to like? Maybe there's something about diabetes there.
Actually, my mother-in-law told me about your podcast.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, she has a friend that has a son with type 1. I think she just told her that I should listen to this podcast. I downloaded a few episodes and started listening, and I love podcasts. I'm a podcast junkie, so I was like, yeah, totally. I'd much rather do that than read some books. So
I have another question. Yeah. It's going to sound self-serving, but it's not.
Is it?
I don't think so. No, I think it's for my edification. You worked for somebody who made a podcast.
Yes.
Am I good at this?
Yeah, definitely. I think the magic of podcasting is there's 2 types of podcasts, right? Like there's the one that you listen to that's basically like a blog, and they just like shell out information like listicles kind of thing. And you're just like, okay, that was helpful. And then there's other podcasts you listen to for the conversation and also like information you get out of it, right? Like Joe Rogan's like the #1 podcast, and it's all conversation.
Yeah.
I get a lot of good conversation. And then there's like nuggets of information in a lot of your podcasts too. Like the pro series are great. But yeah, I would say you're a great conversationalist, and people like to listen to that for sure.
That was nice of you, but I'm not done picking through this yet. So you're saying to me that I'm going to say something I think you're going to know. Do you know Rhonda Patrick's podcast?
Yes.
There's no way you don't listen to that. So so now, so she's basically, she feels like she's reading like her thesis to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes my brain want to kill itself. So, but do you like it?
If I want to know like that level of information about a topic, then yeah. To me, like I learned very well audio with listening to things. Mm-hmm. So I've actually like written really detailed blog posts for other people using her content as help. So yeah, I think if you're like really nerding out on something, which is her audience for sure, then I do like that. But I listen to Joe Rogan too. So
you like people just chatting and talking and whatever.
Yeah.
All right, here's my last one. Do you know Gabrielle Lyon?
Yes.
I have an open invitation to go on that podcast. Should I do it?
Oh, for sure.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You should.
I'll email her back. Hold on a second.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Cool. I was trying to get one of my clients on her podcast. So.
Oh, I think she wants to come on here. And then I said, you can come on here if I can come on yours. And then I never got.
Yeah, oh, that's.
And then I never got back to her.
Oh no. Yeah, you should go on it for sure.
I didn't know what she would talk. I'm worried about what she would talk about or what I would talk about. Do you know what I mean? Because our things don't seem like they overlap, but maybe they do.
It's health related, right? Like you're in the health and fitness category.
You're such a shill. I love it. You're like, just get on goddamn podcast and grow this thing. Scott, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, you should, Scott. You really should. I think that's one of the best ways to grow your podcast is to be a guest on other podcasts.
Seriously?
If you're an interesting person and you have stuff to say.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think that's bullshit when people say that, but okay.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, on your word, Kelsey, I'm going to email her person back when we're done.
Sounds good.
But back to my thought about Rhonda Patrick. Should I do that? Should I do an episode a week where I'm just reading facts to people, or do you think they wouldn't want that?
You could try it and see what the response is. I think when I have listened to some of I haven't listened to them all, but when I have listened to some of the pro series, they are a conversation, and my brain kind of has a hard time being okay, I need to do this, this, and this. I was listening to the Loop one and I got some nuggets out of it, but I'm okay, I still need to go watch a Loop YouTube video to understand what all these settings are.
Okay.
I don't know if you would like doing that. If you wouldn't like doing it, then I don't know if people would like listening to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it where I was they're is he being forced to do this? It wouldn't be like that. But I have, should I tell people this? Not people listening. I don't care if you guys hear. I care if the people rip me off here. I have a fairly robust setup in the background that I'm working on where AI is mining my content for lists of thoughts and ideas and takeaways.
That's really smart.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, don't worry. I didn't do it by mistake. And it's also translating it into other languages for me.
Okay.
Not the whole podcast because AI is not there yet. You can't give something it's 60 minutes worth of audio and be turn it into Spanish. It'll be go to hell.
Yeah.
But it can, with insane accuracy, you can say, please provide key takeaways from this episode. And if I listened to the podcast back and made my notes from it, it would come out exactly like this.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really something. So I could read those and make short episodes out of them to help people go find the conversations.
I think micro content like that is a really good idea to get people in the door.
Okay.
And get a little more bite-sized information, especially if you're doing the conversations already. But yeah, sometimes I'm just I just need to know this one thing about this app and I can't figure it out. I wonder if Scott has an episode on it, but then I got to listen to the whole thing and be did he mention it?
And Arden calls in. She's people in Georgia can't drive. And you got to, yeah, I understand. You got to go.
And for some reason, she's looking for a blue mechanical pencil. I don't know why. Yeah.
What's your favorite part of her call? Is it when she said, and 20 seconds later, he said something?
She's funny. Yeah.
She's like me, but pretty. My kid's not pretty. Don't go look for her. She's not in Savannah. Jesus Christ. Everybody.
Oh my God.
Arden, run.
All the internet creepers are, yeah.
Somebody told me recently, I was in the park in Savannah and I saw somebody who was wearing an Omnipod that I thought was Arden.
Oh.
And I almost approached her, but I didn't. And I said, well, A, good idea. And B, she'd be very polite and then call me and go, one of your people came up to me in the park. But B, it wasn't her.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting? She saw another girl Arden's age in the park wearing an Omnipod.
Ah, okay. They're out there.
Back to me milking your brain. I have a whiteboard behind me. I don't want to embarrass myself. It is it's a 6x4 whiteboard and every idea I have about making this podcast is written down on that whiteboard. And I've been toying with something that I was calling small sips on my whiteboard, short clips, that kind of thing. And so I've been doing the AI, and you just said micro content, it's a thing that if I went to college or worked in this, I would know about.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm thinking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Micro content. It's making shorter content out of longer content that you already have.
And then giving people the opportunity to go back to the longer content if they like.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so I could do a thing here. You want to workshop one with me right now?
Totally. Let's do it.
All right, okay. So I'm looking at the key takeaways from the first episode of the Pro Tip series.
Okay.
The first episode of the Pro Tip series is episode 1000. It's called Diabetes Pro Tip, Newly Diagnosed or Starting Over. I don't know if people notice, but when I make new series, I start them by having a conversation about what I want the series to be about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's almost like a brainstorming thing. If Jenny's involved, Jenny and I get together and I go, Jenny, I want to make a story, you know, a series for, I'm going to call it Bold Beginnings, and it's going to be for really newly diagnosed people. Then she and I talk about it. We hash it out. I already have a ton of, by the time I get to that point, I've already asked in the private Facebook group, what do you guys wish you would have known when you were diagnosed? And I have, when I made the Bold Beginnings series, I had 80 pages in a document of people's responses from the podcast and from the Facebook group. And then lovely people distilled it down for me so to get rid of the duplicates. And then Jenny and I made an episode going through them. And then she and I decided what we needed key takeaways from that to make the series with. So anyway, that's what this is. The Pro Tip series first episode is just her and I talking about what the Pro Tip series is going to be. AI says that the key takeaways of that episode are understanding how insulin works is crucial for managing diabetes effectively. Basal testing can be helpful in determining the right basal insulin dosage, especially for pump users. Basal insulin is the foundation of diabetes management and should be prioritized. Blood sugar control is heavily dependent on basal insulin, so it should be adjusted before considering other factors like insulin to carb ratio. Fear of insulin should be overcome to effectively manage diabetes. Newly diagnosed individuals should seek comprehensive education and not settle for basic information. It is important to find a healthcare provider who can provide the necessary support and information. Mistakes and experiences are valuable learning opportunities for diabetes management. Diabetes management requires flexibility and adaptation to changing variables, and numbers and data are information, not judgments, and should be used to make informed decisions.
Right.
So you're saying I could make that into like a 5-minute episode? Like read those, chat about it for a little bit, bundle it up and send it on its way, and people would find that valuable?
Oh, for sure.
All right.
Like literally just talking about basal insulin being the foundation, like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Just hearing that in a list, I'm like, you don't even have to say anymore. I'm like, oh, okay. I need to start there. Because your endo doesn't tell you that. At least mine didn't. They talk about the insulin to carb ratio.
All right.
Which is like kind of the last thing you're supposed to tweak, right? So yeah, definitely. You should do that.
All right, Kelsey, don't rip me off.
Don't worry. I don't have any other diabetes clients.
You and I and a few people who I talk to privately are the only ones who know I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a whole series like that of shorts. And
cool.
I'm going to do it just the way you said, because you can sell vitamins to people they don't need. So you must know what you're talking about.
Oh, no.
By the way, you've been we're not done yet, but you have been incredibly honest. And I genuinely appreciate you being on the show. Thank you very much. This is,
good.
This has been terrific.
No, it's a pleasure. It's kind of a therapeutic.
Oh, well, I'm glad. Okay. So now you're you use an Omnipod DASH G7 or G6?
I'm still on G6.
G6, and you just started looping. And so
Yes.
Did you just do that on your own? You just went like on Loop and Learn or one of those Facebook groups and taught yourself?
My endo did kind of give me a few like bulleted of like, here's where you need to go. Yeah, I sat down for a couple hours and was like, okay, how do I do this? The GitHub with the Loop and Learn docs is amazing. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, but like setting it up was not bad at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it a branch that is making adjustments with basal, or is it making adjustments with boluses?
Right now, I just have it set. I listened to your episodes with Kenny and I have it in open loop, kind of trying to make sure my basal and my ISF is right.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't even put it in closed loop yet. I don't know if I'm doing any of those things yet. I'm just kind of running it myself.
Nice. How's your insulin to carb ratio? You think it's good?
No, I don't. That's actually one that I'm like, because I don't eat a lot of carbs, but I eat a lot of protein and fat.
Mm-hmm.
So the carb ratio like never really is enough for me, because if I put in, I'm really only eating like 10 carbs. I still need like 2 to 3 units of insulin for the protein and fat that kind of hit later. So yeah, I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Oh, that's pretty easy. You can put in 10. So the 10 carbs up front is not too much. You're okay with that?
Yeah. So I have like a 1 to 10 insulin to carb ratio right now.
Right. So you can say, I'm having 10 carbs, it'll give you a unit. But then the problem you're having is what, 45 minutes, an hour later, you start rising from the protein?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that rise stops at some point. You correct it. It goes back down. How much are you correcting it with?
It depends on how high I go up, I guess. Usually like one unit, one to two units will take me back down. But I'm trying to avoid the rise in the first place, which I don't know if that's even.
Well, sure. Here, I'm about to tell you. Kelsey.
Okay.
Yeah, you help me.
Tell me.
You help me. I'm helping you.
Okay.
So in Loop, you can just say, hey, I'm having 10 carbs and blah, blah, blah. But you can also go in and tell it I'm having 10 carbs and put the time on it as 45 minutes from now.
Okay.
And then you're giving the algorithm the flexibility to be aggressive when it sees the rise because it expects.
Is that in closed loop only, Scott?
Yeah.
That it'll do that? Okay.
In the bolus calculator, you can pick the time of the bolus, but you can pick the future. So you can, you ever predate a check? Or post date. Did you ever? Have you ever posted? First of all, you're in your 30s. Do you even have a fucking checkbook?
Yeah, I do,
Okay,
but I use Venmo.
Okay. Do you know what post dating a check is?
No.
Okay. Oh, all right. For young people, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. When you're broke, and it was 30 years ago, and you owed somebody $20, and you had to write them a check. You'd say, hey, look, it's Monday, and I want you to believe that I'm going to give you this money, but this money is not in my account till Friday. Today is the 10th. I'm going to write you out a check for $20, but I'm going to post date it for the 15th. You can't deposit it till the 15th.
Oh, was that like on their honor system?
Yeah.
Or is that
because if they tried to deposit before that, the check
it wouldn't
bounce.
work. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'd, by the way, get charged $25 check bounce fee, and you didn't have that anyway. And anyway, but that's not the point. Post dating. That's what. I can't believe people don't know what. Oh, I'm so old. Oh, give me a second to get over that. Let me have water. Oh, I've lived through a thing that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so you can post. It's really upsetting. Hold on. You can post date a bolus in Loop.
So that's the absorption time is like when it actually gives you the insulin?
No, that's another thing. Like, so you could also tell it, here's 10. If I was you, I might end up going like, here's 15 carbs and make the absorption time like 4 or 5 hours, like to drag it out a little bit. But you can make one bolus. Hey, here's 10 carbs at 1 o'clock, but then make another bolus and say, I'm eating 10 carbs, but I'm eating it at 1:50. And then when you push enter, it doesn't give you the insulin.
Oh, I didn't realize you could change it. That's what changing the time is for.
You can change the time on it. Yeah. And then 15 minutes from now, when the thing starts seeing you go up, it's like, ooh, I heard through a post-dated bolus that she was going to eat 10 more carbs now. Here we go.
And so you just always like kind of count that as carbs. You don't, because there's little icons in here for the food, right?
Yeah.
Like you can choose chicken or eggs or whatever.
Yeah, you'll have to decide what the absorption rate you want for that second one. But what I'm basically telling you to do is bolus for the food.
Do another one.
And then bolus for the protein rise.
Thank you, Scott.
But you got to pre-bolus the protein rise, but not by too much.
Not by too much. Okay.
Hey,
that helps.
There you go. Now it's worth your time. Coming on here.
Oh, yay.
8 o'clock in the morning out in everyone knows you're in Colorado just by how you talked, I imagine.
Oh, really? I'm not from here.
I mean, you went to a lady who tried to give you she tried to give you dandelion tea when you said I have diabetes. I assume people were just like, oh, she's probably in Colorado.
You're literally naming all the things in my cabinets throughout this conversation. And it's pretty funny.
Do you feel seen or mocked?
Both.
Yeah, well,
both. And it's totally fine.
I was going to say good because you're getting me. We're not having any communication gaps.
No.
Listen, I'm all for trying things. I am one of those people. Like, I've taken dandelion capsules.
Yeah.
I've taken them for a month. And then a month later, I said to myself, nothing about my life has changed. And then I stopped doing it. but I've tried, I try probiotics. I try different probiotics. I try all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Because if you trip over something that's valuable, I mean, God bless. Like I am totally into, how do I want to say this? I'm not telling other people to do this. I take way more vitamin D every day than a doctor would tell you to take.
Right.
I do that. I take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D every day.
Oh yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah. So I don't care. If what you don't need flushes out, and I've got enough. And there you go. That's the thing I do. But for all the vitamins, like I have a beautiful men's multivitamin here. I use Thorne Labs for my for my vitamins.
Oh, I love Thorne. Yeah.
They're
That's
not
a good
a
one.
sponsor. They should be, but that's not the point.
I'm an affiliate with them.
Are you really?
I am.
I try not to do affiliate work, Kelsey. It makes me feel like I work for somebody. I like it if they buy an ad.
Not if you also use the discount for yourself.
Oh.
Then you're kind of paying yourself too.
I do use my Cozy Earth discount to get my like sweatpants. I know people are probably like, he's like, he makes an ad. He says he's wearing those sweatpants. I'm almost always in those sweatpants. So comfortable.
That's awesome.
Save 40% at CozyEarth.com with the offer code Juicebox at checkout.
I might use that after this. Actually, I also live in sweatpants.
Yeah, 40%.
That's a great discount code.
God damn right it is.
Good for you.
Thank you. I'm saying I take vitamins. I take stuff too. I take vitamin C with iron to help keep my iron up like 3 times a week. There's all kinds of things I do. But the truth is nothing changed, fixed, or massively helped my health like a GLP medication did.
Oh, did you do Wegovy?
I've lost 40 pounds since March.
Wow.
On Wegovy. And the weight aside, besides I just feel better and being lighter and all that has been better for me, like from my joints to my energy to how I look and everything else, my body works better now than it did before.
Oh, that's awesome.
I do not know another way to put it. So,
hey, man, whatever. Like I said, that's a peptide.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I haven't gone there, but I might.
I plateaued at 40 and I wrote it I have a Wegovy diary. So people who listen to that will know, like I plateaued pretty hard for a couple of months. I'm like, I am not losing weight anymore. And I went back to my doctor and I was like, hey, what the fuck? She goes, and she's got this great accent. And she goes, we put you on Zepbound now. And I was like, yeah, let's go, baby. So I just took my first injection of Zepbound last week, which is.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, ready? So Zepbound is Mounjaro, as Wegovy is Ozempic.
Oh, okay. Okay. Different brand name.
No, they're just distinctions for insurance reasons. Wegovy, you can
kind of like insulin.
Well, you can give Wegovy to people with type 2 diabetes because that's what it's been tested on. And then they tested it, Ozempic to people with type 2 diabetes because that's what it's been tested on. But Ozempic and Wegovy are the exact same molecule. And if I'm paying attention to how insurance works and how people make money on that end, you can't patent the thing as much as you can patent the dosing strategy.
And the delivery mechanism.
Yeah. The delivery mechanism. So Ozempic is one way and Wegovy is another way. Wegovy's for weight loss, Ozempic's for type 2 diabetes. It's the same exact thing, right? So I used Wegovy for that time. It was beautiful. I had one side effect. Oh, God damn it, Kelsey. I had one side.
Are you going to get into gut stuff?
I'm just going to tell you that I didn't have I haven't taken a firm bowel movement in a while.
Are you worried about that?
No, because I was losing weight.
No.
If I would have grown a horn out of my head and a tail would have came out of my when I was losing weight, I still would have been like, this is fine. And so,
so the weight loss is the main goal, and then the side effects, you're like, I'll deal with it later.
People don't like this phrase because it leans on diet culture, but ain't nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And so, so anyway, this was not horrible. I was not running around with diarrhea. I did not mess myself, things like that. It just wasn't where I wanted it to be. I had reflux before that, and it got better on Wegovy, but didn't go away. And when I told my doctor those things, and she said, actually, the Zepbound might get you going on more weight loss, but more specifically, it should address the acid reflux. And I think you won't have the bowel movement issue.
Why? If it's the same thing.
God damn, Kelsey, I'm not a scientist. I don't know.
Was that true? Did that happen?
I had a much nicer experience in the restroom yesterday than I had last Tuesday. So,
congratulations.
Oh yeah, it was pretty exciting. The toilet bowl even seemed excited. It was like, oh, thank you.
No more scrubbing.
I don't know what was happening up there, but thank you. And so I've only shot it once.
Okay.
5 days ago. So I haven't even done it twice yet.
Interesting. Yeah. From my understanding of those things, they work in the gut somehow. So I think that's that's some people in the functional medicine space are worried about so many people using it because they don't totally know what it does to your gut and your microbiome and the lining and everything.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not going to be right for everybody.
Yeah, totally. But if your goal is weight loss and you feel better, hey, man, go for it.
Here's what I think. I don't think at 62 years old, when I was clutching my chest and driving into a tree, I would have thought at least my microbiome is okay.
You probably reach a certain point where you're just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Why don't we try not being fat? Let's see how that goes.
Yeah. Start there.
Anyway, that lovely girl you heard screaming into the phone earlier. So we've been talking to her endocrinologist for a while about insulin resistance. It seems like she has PCOS. Like we've looked for PCOS, like the last thing you can actually find. And so like we've ruled out a lot of issues, heavy period, acne, stomach pain, stuff like that. And for a while, the doctor was like, maybe we should put her on metformin, but kind of doctor went back and forth about that a little bit. And then I had this experience on Wegovy, and the doctor said to me one day, you are reacting so well to this. And I was like, right. And she goes, what do you think about giving Arden some Ozempic? And I was like, well, will insurance cover that? And she goes, probably not. And I was like, well, how much is it? And she's like, there are ways. And I was like, okay. So I was like, all right. She goes, take a sample pen first. And I was like, okay. And she goes, just shoot 0.25. Do it every week. So she shoots 0.25. It should be said, Arden has absolute needle phobia. I've never talked. I don't know if I talk about it on here, but she is like sweaty palms. Wait, please, swatting at you, needle phobia. Like she has a needle phobia. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But I said, Arden, like, let's try this, like, get over it. And like, so we did it. She had first week, it was tough on her. She had the nausea and like over full feeling. And that persisted into like maybe the second week, but she fought through it and, ate anyway, not as much, obviously. And then that part kind of went away a little bit. Now she's just up to the point where like, she's just not that hungry on it. But here's what's happened. Arden's been using Ozempic 0.25 for, I think, 6 weeks now. My math tells me that Arden will use 11,000 fewer units of insulin next year.
Holy cow.
Yeah. How about that?
That's crazy.
Her basal went from 1.1 an hour to 0.7 an hour during the day.
Okay. So do you think that is due to the medication or the fact that she's eating less?
No, it's the medication.
I guess that would change. That would be the only thing that would change her basal, huh?
Yeah. Because it happened almost immediately.
Wow.
Arden uses a do-it-yourself algorithm right now. She's using IAPS.
Oh, okay.
Arden can fast forever without a low blood sugar. Like forever. That algorithm is insane. My point is that when she was 1.1 an hour and her this is going to freak you out. And when her ISF was 42 during the day, she didn't get low when she was fasting.
Wow.
And now her ISF is 63.
Oh, wow.
And her basal's 0.7. And she still doesn't get low when she's fasting. So her insulin needs, I mean, I haven't really done the math, but she's gone from some days some 3-day periods using an entire pod or like 180 units down to like sometimes using 60 or 70 units in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And her A1C,
that is crazy.
In the 6 weeks she did her A1C went from 6.3 to 5.9, tracked in the app in the IAPS app.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
You're going to see a lot of type 1s get GLP medications in the future, but it's got to get covered by insurance first. Like,
isn't that kind of how it started? Was for type 2 diabetes?
Yeah, it's for type 2s.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but anything that improves your insulin sensitivity that helps type 1s too, right?
How about our acne improved by, I would say, 80% in 3 weeks?
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's really cool.
Crazy stuff. Like, so I keep saying this over and over again. There's a group online where women are getting pregnant on Ozempic because they probably had PCOS their whole life and couldn't get pregnant. And now this is helping that. And I saw a group of people on Reddit talking about, I always pronounce it wrong, but Ehlers-Danlos, the connective tissue, like the over flexibility in your joints. It's an autoimmune issue. Uh-huh. And there are some people online in a group saying they think it's helping them with symptoms from that.
That's crazy.
I don't even know why that would be. But enough people on Reddit got together and were like, hey, I have Danlos and I don't notice the pain as much anymore. Now, I don't know if were they heavier, they lost weight, it's easier on their joints, or is the peptide actually helping somewhat with an immune response somewhere? I don't
I
know.
mean, if it's doing something in your gut that, they say all autoimmune disease is connected to the gut. So
I'm
maybe
saying
it's
I don't
working
know.
through that.
Yep.
You're saying you don't know?
We're all going to be
that's
we're all going to
cool.
be vaping it one day. That's all I can tell you.
Oh, God. Probably better than what they're vaping now. So, hey.
By the way, do not vape a GLP medication. I was being farcical. I hope people can hear the sarcasm, Kelsey. Is there anything we haven't talked about that we should have?
I don't think so. I guess the reason why I wanted to come, or the reason why I felt called to email you is the diabetes myth series that I heard. And I think, a lot of people hear this that are diabetic. Like you became diabetic because you eat too much sugar and you eat the wrong things and you don't take care of yourself and blah, blah, blah. But I kind of just felt like that one hit home for me because basically for the last 13 years, I've been focused on my health.
Yeah. Paleo, taking vitamins.
Literally I was doing the cold plunge. I have a sauna. I did intermittent fasting. I've done 3-day fasts. I'm in it for a long time.
I've done intermittent fasting and I think it was terrific for me.
Yeah. It's especially really good for men for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess what I was saying is I still got type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, exactly. So. I like in your intake form, you described yourself as, well, hold on. I'm incredibly healthy, like non-Bluetooth using kind of healthy.
Oh, yeah. That was the irony of the whole thing for me. It was I didn't use Bluetooth headphones. I turned my Wi-Fi off at night. My phone's in airplane mode a lot. And now I'm literally just strapped to a Bluetooth device 24/7. And it's keeping me alive.
Forget this tumbler. I'm drinking out of bottled water again. I don't care.
Oh, for real.
Although, by the way, again, there's some news report hit the other day about particulates in bottled water, like plastic. And I was like, yeah, Is that not obvious to everybody? Why?
Right.
Don't do that. There's some things that just make sense. I don't care if you can quantify it or not, but stop rubbing water on plastic and then drinking it. Seems like a bad idea to me.
Or microwaving your food in it.
Oh, it's such a simple thing not to do. Do not microwave your food in plastic. Here, I'll go a little farther. I'll get crunchy with Kelsey, which, is that the episode title?
That actually would probably be very on brand for me.
Because I was going to call it mechanical pencil, but crunchy with Kelsey.
Mechanical pencil. No one would get it until that middle section.
That's why I was going to do it. Yeah, that's a marketing ploy, by the way.
It's a nugget.
Yeah.
Yes,
that is one of the things I do to try to keep you guys listening. I'm I'll name it something that happens after the halfway point.
It's smart.
But crunchy with Kelsey is good. We might do that.
That has a ring to it.
Yeah. Here's another one. Don't use oil. Just stop with canola oil and just stop. Just Google what is it? The Hateful Eight oils or something like that. Just try not to use them. Try not to use cold pressed olive oil, not hot, heat pressed olive oil. Simple little things you can do to stop so that the things you're taking in are not being changed. And that's processing. Canola oil is processed, for example. Mm-hmm. That little stuff is easy to do.
Yeah, eat real food. Hey, Scott, this is why you're in the health and fitness category. There you go.
I know.
You just doled out great health advice.
I know. By the way, nothing you hear on the Juicebox podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. Canola, corn, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, rice, bran. Don't eat them. Just don't.
Don't eat them.
Simple. Hey, look, you just got...
Read your labels because they're in everything.
Yeah, you just got healthier. And I have this great episode with this 13-year-old healthy girl. She's so super healthy. And she talks about what she eats for breakfast and the probiotics she's on. She's so lovely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she's really great. She what did she say to me? She was like, you have to stop eating. I can't eat butter that's not organic, she told me. And I was like,
or grass-fed.
Yeah, I need a grass-fed. I need a grass-fed butter. This is one of the things she said to me. I swear to you, I went downstairs. My wife's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going out the store. I'm buying different butter. I was like, and now I only buy grass-fed butter and I only buy eggs that are organic, I think chickens
pasture
that are pasture-raised,
raised,
that whole thing. And I have no idea if it matters or not, but I was like, the price at this point's the same.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's not a cost thing. So I'm like, what the hell? All right.
Yeah, eggs kind of did a flip I'm like, okay, well, now I'm definitely buying the good ones.
Yeah, they're so damn expensive. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I know.
All right.
Well, good. That 13-year-old was your health coach.
She's lovely.
Oh.
Her first episode is called Bugs in Your Belly. And because she talked about, she's like, there's bugs in your belly. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she came back on. She's not like young sounding, by the way. She's actually like, she's one of those kids that when you talk to her, you're like, I don't think I'm as smart as this kid.
That's amazing. I'm definitely going to listen to her
She's
episodes.
lovely. I'm trying to find the number for you before I let you go. So, you know, there are bugs in your belly, episode 823.
823.
Yeah,
okay.
She's lovely. And she'll be back on pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I think it's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Hold on 1 second for me.
Okay.
I want to thank the Eversense CGM for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast and invite you to go to eversensecgm.com/juicebox to learn more about this terrific device. You can head over now and just absorb everything that the website has to offer, and that way you'll know if Eversense feels right for you. eversensecgm.com/juicebox. The conversation you just enjoyed was brought to you by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Get started today and get your supplies from US Med. A huge thank you to one of today's sponsors, Gvoke Glucagon. Find out more about Gvoke HypoPen at gvokeglucagon.com/juicebox. You spell that GVOKEGLUCAGON.com/juicebox. All right, kids, we're done. We're at the end. Just do me one last favor, if you can, if you could, please. If you have the need or the desire for something that one of the sponsors is providing, please use my links or my offer codes. They help the show so much, and that means me. You're helping me to make this podcast every day. You're helping me to support the private Facebook group, do all the things that I'm doing. I'm not asking you to buy something you don't want or something you don't need, but if you're going to get one of these items, use my links or my offer codes. They help me a ton. Thank you so much for listening and for supporting. I really do genuinely appreciate it. I'll be back very soon with another episode. I know that Facebook has a bad reputation, but please give the private Facebook group for the Juicebox Podcast a healthy once-over. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. The group now has 47,000 members in it. It gets 150 new members a day. It is completely free. And at the very least, you can watch other people talk about diabetes. And everybody is welcome. Type 1, type 2, gestational, loved ones, everyone is welcome. Go up into the featured tab of the private Facebook group, and there you'll see lists upon lists of all of the management series that are available to you for free in the Juicebox Podcast. Becoming a member of that group, I really think it will help you. It will at least give you community. You'll be able to kind of lurk around, see what people are talking about, pick up some tips and tricks. Maybe you can ask a question or offer some help. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're not already subscribed or following the podcast in your favorite audio app like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do that now. Seriously, just to hit follow or subscribe will really help the show. If you go a little further in Apple Podcasts and set it up so that it downloads all new episodes, I'll be your best friend. And if you leave a 5-star review, I'll probably send you a Christmas card. Would you like a Christmas card? The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.